Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered with Roxy. I'm your host, Roxana Feenster, and this podcast is all about where mindfulness meets practicality. We keep it real about life, wellness, and all the things in between. And today's topic is the pivot, why it's hard but necessary, and how we can turn life's unexpected detours into fuel for your dreams. If you ever had to completely flip your plans upside down, whether it's losing a job, facing a health crisis, or dealing with a sudden change in relationships, then you know how disorienting the pivot can be. Here's the thing, the pivot isn't about change. It's about how we show up and in that change. So in this episode, I'm going to share some personal stories, including one that still makes me just sad when I reflect back on it, and some lessons I've learned about preparing for pivots before they happen. We'll talk about dream time, self-care plans, and why you have to build a life that's ready to bend without breaking. And stick with me until the end. I want to update you on a special offer on my road to 1K YouTube subscribers. So let's get into it, the pivot. So what made me talk about this is I have one of my daughters is going through something, and it just made me think about how we really need to make sure that we are very flexible in our lives, because one thing is for sure, the pivot is going to happen. The change is going to happen. Now, what causes those things to happen are going to be different, but how we deal with it is the same. So one of the things is like when we have a big pivot, when you least expect it, it's kind of like it is a shock to your system. It is discombobulation. It is made to make you off kilter, right? Because even like if you're a basketball player and you're running towards, we used to have to do suicides. You know, the whole point is that you're going as fast and as hard as you can to that first line. Then you run back to the baseline. Then you run to midcourt. Then you run back to the base. So even though, and we knew those lines were coming and we had to stop and make a hard change. So just imagine, even if we know that's coming, we know we're about to graduate. We know that we're about to get a new role and it's going to be a lot. I had a friend who she was going to have twins, and yes, she knew it was coming, and it still was like, oh my gosh, I have to pivot and do this, this, and this. And even with all that planning, it was a lot, right? So it's not a maybe about the pivot. The pivot is going to come, whether we want it to or not. The key is having that agility, knowing how to do those suicides and be able to get through, because it's not going to look beautiful. It's not going to be the Instagram worthy thing. And you may have to explain, what if the pivot is you were the person who messed up in a relationship, and now you have to tell people that, you know, I'm not able to be in that relationship anymore because of X, Y, and Z, which is the best way to do it, because don't throw the other person under the bus, especially if it really was you. Don't be that sucky person. So, you know, like just thinking about all of that, even no matter how cringy it is, we just have to suck it up and do it. So one of the things that I wanted to share, a personal thing, is when I remember I was working at a gym, living my best life because I was an instructor, and I was also a executive assistant for the owners. And I had prayed for this job. I prepared for this job. I took different classes, and had came in one day and was told to meet the owner in her office. And I took my notebook, my pen, thinking that it was going to be for another project, a big deal, and this was going to be my big break. And I was told that I was actually getting fired and to get my things. I think I was so shocked. I don't even know if I got any of my stuff from that office. And the matter of fact, I did not, because one of my coworker and friends there had asked me, did I want the stuff? And I told her, just throw it away. That's how traumatic it was to me. And I'm pretty sure I had Starbucks cups. I had a few things, but it was like, yeah, it was a shock to my system. Another one was, and I talk about this more on my blog, but another one that was a real shock to my system is, I'll never forget, it was my 40th birthday, and my mom wasn't feeling well. We had um, a dinner, I think it was a dinner, or was it a brunch that we were doing, and she had came and really didn't feel well. And we had had a great time. She had paid for everyone. It was a beautiful memory. And she had went to the ER later that night because she couldn't stop sneezing. She just really didn't feel well. And come to find out, like 2 weeks later or later that week, they said that it was cancer. She had had cancer before in her 20s and almost died from it, and had got the cancer was back, and she had to do surgery or chemo right away. It was pretty traumatic because we all as a family had to pivot, and we were not ready. We were resistant. Some of us were, I think, really in denial. So even her husband, and I can see that now, but before I was so frustrated and upset that I guess I didn't really understand what was going on. But that was a pivot that was hard. And it's like, one day you could be fine. We were just having a party. We were just enjoying each other. We just thought it was allergies. And then come to find out, no, it was cancer. So that was a huge pivot. And I think from that time that she found out until she died was maybe 2 years. So it was a bunch of quick transitions. She had done surgery, lost her sight. Like, it was progressive different pivots, because at that point that person can't take care of themselves anymore. They can't go to work anymore. So, and I just can't imagine for her what a shock that was, because it was all of those things at one time. It's, I can't be the mom I used to be. It's, I can't be the partner I used to be. She was married at that time. And it just had to have been so hard for her. But I just remember in my own writing of this that, wow, that was like a big pivot, because I remember being like, oh, it's just allergies, and then being like, oh, I'm not going to be able to travel, I'm not going to be able to do this because I need to be here for my mom. So and another thing that I thought about, that I've talked about in other blogs and podcasts, is that I also want to talk about like friendships like that, or having a boyfriend or a girlfriend that suddenly tells you that. And even if you think, oh, well, we had a fight, like we're going through a transition, you still don't always expect for it to be a breakup. And I just remember saying something offhandedly funny that I thought was funny to my friend, like, oh, we had went to church one time, and I had said, oh, that's just not my cup of tea. And she reacted so like, oh, well, we can't be friends if you don't like this church and if you don't like this. And I just was like, wow. And that was like the first of a series of me just trying to fit into a peg that I was never meant to fit into. But I just think, I just remember how visceral that was for me. Like, what do you mean? Like, we can't be friends because I didn't like this. Like, I can like it. It's fine. So all that to say, like, we don't know how people are going to respond to things, but we know how we can respond to them. And that's what the pivot's about, right? Because even now I like, now I see that that's okay. I don't know if I would have told the person that all the things that I got told, but I don't think it's anything wrong with being like, oh, well, if you don't like that, that's such a big part of my life. Like, how can we even, move forward? I can see that kind of analysis now that I'm older. But the point is, like, we don't know when people are going to be done with us, right? we don't know what that line is. And that's fine that they're like that, but it's how we respond to it and not internalize it, and make sure that we're really looking at a balanced part. Like, what part is my part in this, and how can I do better and show up better, and how can I take care of myself? Because now that I'm older, I can see that even if someone rejects me, I can still love on my inner child, so she's not raging, because I learned that with my therapist, that my inner child was raging a lot of my adulthood because she didn't have anyone to stand up for her and care for her. And it was a lot of self-sufficiency. And especially if you're going through a lot of things when you're younger, then when you get to the point where you can defend yourself and can take care of yourself, it is going to be kind of abrupt. Like, I'm not going to let anyone get that close to me or do this to me. Or if I'm in a marriage, it's always going to be my way or the highway, which is not a balanced way to look at it. And it's not how everyone has to go through a marriage. Not everyone was going through an abusive childhood where they saw their parents fighting all the time, or domestic violence all the time. They're not going to think like that. So it's an adjustment, right? And it's a reteaching, a relearning of our mind. So all that to say, we don't know how people are going to respond to our information, and how we respond to them is totally in our control, even though we don't know how they're going to respond to us. So one of the things that I really realized about dealing with change, dealing with bad news, dealing with, I don't want to be your friend, or I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, or you're no longer needed at this job, is to have dream time. My best friend Andrea always would say dream time is so important. It's so important to make sure you have this big audacious dream. And why? At first I was like, this just sounds crazy. Like, why would she ever want us to spend so much time on this when we actually have real work to do? And I realize now that it's because when disappointments happen, when all of these pivots, she doesn't know how long funding is going to be there for the nonprofit. So it's like, we need to have these dreams and be moving towards them so that we don't get resentful. That's what happens. That's the cost of us not being ready for a pivot as well. Not saying you have to be negative, but your dreams are these big, audacious goals, but then we make plans towards them. So even if I'm saying that I want to be a psychiatrist, you just don't be a psychiatrist. You have to take certain classes. You have to do certain trainings. You have to be certain workplaces. So let's say I want to travel every year. Well, that means that I have to purpose my funds for that. If I want to buy a house, I have to purpose where I live currently, being a good steward of that, paying it on time, also saving, and really having or let's say Tabitha, Auntie Tab just put something about that on Instagram. Like, you have to make those steps towards, if you really want to buy a house and there's programs, well, that means you have to register for the program. You have to go to the program. You have to participate in it. There's certain steps we have to take for that dream to come to fruition. And that's what we have to make sure we're doing while we're doing the everyday stuff. And so I'm just looking at my notes here. So even if you lose your job, I think if travel is your thing, you should always be adding to that, to a fund for that. You should have some kind of plan towards that. That doesn't matter if I have a job or not. I know that this time next year, I'm going to be in Jamaica, or I'm going to Africa, or I'm going to Italy, or I'm going to Greece. Like, those are things that they're big, but when we're taking little steps towards it, it doesn't matter. Like, I can lose my job and I'll know I'm still putting in my money towards that. So some of the things that we have to also realize is, so that self-care isn't just about pampering ourselves, right? Self-care is making sure we're doing all the things that we enjoy so that we don't get tired of our lives. We don't get disgusted with the everyday washing clothes thing because I know that I'm taking care of the clothes that I love, and that in 5 minutes I can go for a walk and I'll feel good after my walk. And I'll remember that walk because I took a picture that I'm going to also write a journaling prompt about. Those are things that help us be mindful and in the moment. And those are the free things that we can do to enjoy our lives. We don't have to spend money to have self-care, but we do have to figure out what those things are that help us to feel good, so that way we're continuously doing them and it's not these far breaks in between them. If you love to go biking, make time to go biking. Go early, go late, go water what do you call it? Not paddle boarding, but where you're boarding with the sticks. I can't remember, but purpose your time that, on the weekend you're going to go and paddle board, right? I think sometimes we try to make it so like, oh, it's so much to do. Not if we plan to do it. If we purpose time on Sunday to do this, or purpose half the day Thursday to do this, I think we would be so much happier in our lives, and it wouldn't be this thing of we're just reflecting on, oh, when I can play basketball. Like, play basketball every Saturday with your friends, or with the guys down the street, or with the girls down the street. Like, we are thinking about life as if it's going to be here forever, and it's not. We have to make sure we're showing up for ourselves, taking time to read, taking time if you like to swim. That means you may not be able to get your hair done the way you want because you know that you feel even better when you swim. Those are things that we have to take account of. Or maybe you're saying you don't like to swim. You just like to go for a walk, or maybe you like to take a yoga class. Those are things that we have to input in for ourselves. No one is going to do it for us. We have to make sure we're taking that time apart to minister to ourselves. So your self-care plan should also include a dream time, putting aside time to just think. The dream time is think time. The think time that is not, oh, let me see how I'm going to make $1 million. It's let me have 1 million ways of how I can breathe. I don't know. I just made that up. But what I'm saying is making sure that you're taking care of yourself. And another thing with the self-care plan is having time, spiritual time, to just take care of your prayer, reading something that is feeding your spirit, man. Making sure that you're putting time in between your tasks just so you can listen and see if the Holy Spirit is guiding you to something else. I think so many times we're so busy, we're such in a rush for everything. There's times where we're not supposed to do things, or there's times we are supposed to do things and we've missed the mark of that because we're always rushed. So just taking those times. The self-care plan is including the dream time, including buffer time in between our meetings, in between our tasks. And I want you to think about this as a takeaway. Sometimes the pivot is not even a bad thing. We're supposed to pivot. We're supposed to be changing. Sometimes God has already been done with us being in a situation of work or in a relationship. The grace has run out for it. I'm looking at you. The grace has run out for it. And we just want to keep holding on for it. And let's say you're at a job for a week and you realize it's not a good fit. Leave. The money's not worth it. And I'm telling you why. This goes back to something that my friend had told me earlier this week. We know. And once we know, we're too smart to unknow. So once we know that a job is not a good fit, a relationship, a friendship is not a good fit, all we're going to do is keep messing it up. Think about that. We're going to keep not being there the way we would usually show up. And we're too smart to stay in that. So you might as well go ahead and just leave. I remember I had known that a job was not a good fit for me, and I didn't just leave. And I knew it probably Even if I had said, oh, I was going to just be there a year, I knew it was going to be a miserable year. But thank God they were assholish enough that it made me know that it was time to keep it moving. So all that to say is sometimes the pivot is what it is. We're supposed to always be changing. God has given us the grace for what we were supposed to be there for. And now anytime after that, you don't have no more grace for it. You got to go, baby. You got to go. So yeah, just because we think that it's a manageable thing for a little bit more, God has already we were where we were supposed to be for a certain time, even if it was a day, even if it was a week. He's done with it, and he wants us to what? Keep it moving. So the Dreamtime checklist, I want you to think about and write down 3 big dreams of yours. And don't share them with anyone else. It's for you just to start to nurture and love until it gets to a big stand-up point where you are released to talk about it. And that's us with our spirit man, right? So write down 3 big dreams. They're ridiculous. It's out of pocket. You're not even ready for it yet. You don't have the $1 million. Write it down. Break each into doable steps. And guess what? You have ChatGPT, baby. That makes it even easier. So do 3 doable steps. Into small doable steps. Put the steps into your calendar this week. So one of my big goals has been to do project management, and I have done notoriously terrible at this. At first, I started out strong the first year. Then when I left my dream-ish job, I realized that I needed more structure. It's been we're in the 8th month now, 8 months since I was supposed to restart doing it. No. Yes, I'm sorry. It's been about a year since I was supposed to restart doing it. And I'm realizing that I don't want to do it by myself. I need to go ahead and get a teacher to help me. I had it on my calendar. I had when I was going to do the classes and then when I'm going to do my next step. But I'm like, at this point, I really want to do it. I need to go ahead and get a trainer for the next leg of what I need to learn. Same thing with Spanish. I was very, very fluent in Spanish. Then I just slacked off. I had a friend at work who was speaking Spanish and got back on again. And now I lost it. I don't know a lot of my words anymore. I need to practice. I had purposed on my calendar that I would start it back up. It's dropped off. I need to really be serious about that again. So one of the things that's a step for me to go towards is to be a translator and to be able to help people in the court system or help people if they're going through immigration stuff. That was something that I wanted to have a business in. So me not purposing to do that already for a year it's holding my business back as well, right? So please make sure I need to take a drink. I need to make sure that I'm purposing that time and focusing on it. Sometimes I just got to drink water and making sure you're drinking your water. That's part of your self-care. So put your first step in your calendar this week. Set a small savings goal towards that one dream. So if you know that you want to travel, I don't know why I keep saying travel. Maybe I want to travel. And I need to start putting money towards it. If you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a Peloton, I remember that was such a big goal. That was an audacious goal for me because I was so tight on money. Then I had left that job. It was a lot. So yeah, my Peloton was one of my dream things that I always wanted. So anyways, and that's just such a small thing of a dream, but just being worthy enough to say that I deserve to have Tunde as my instructor. You do too. And we don't think that we're good enough to have those things, but we are. And once we keep saying that and keep planning towards it, that's how it gets stronger and we're able to nurture it. So the 4 steps that are in my blog about your dreams are writing down your 3 big dreams, break them down into doable steps. Put your first step into the calendar. So if it's prep time for a class, learning a language, do that. Or if it's something that you need to start saving towards, start small, start $5, start now. Don't make yourself have any excuse. Okay. So my final encouragement is a pivot is gonna be painful. Even the pivots that you want, having a kid, getting married, upgrading a car. No, that's always a good thing. No, it's not. Think about it. If you have to pay more, you got to get used to paying more insurance, more gas, whatever it is. So yeah, it's going to be painful, but just know on the other side of that, you're going to be stronger. You're going to be better. You're going to be glad they kicked you out and glad that you decided to let go for the better. Even if in that transition, it feels like your heart is ripping out. And most of the time, it is going to feel like ripping out. I don't even know how to tell you any comfort other than it's going to hurt. And not to brace yourself, but to feel it, cry, do all the things. Because you couldn't have told me that after I lost that dream job, my mom was going to be sick. It was a good thing. I already knew I had to leave the job. I was miserable at the job. Hated that I cringed every time I had to hear that they wanted to talk to me because I knew it was going to be something negative or something extra or some kind of beratement, right? But I could not have done that and taking care of my mom. I could not have done that and taking care of my teenager who was going through a lot of transition when he was going to high school. So I just think about those things, and really that makes me feel comfort that no matter what, I'm where I'm supposed to be. And even if I've given up that I have a destiny in me, that my star is still bright, it's still there. It doesn't change it just because I think it. So what I want to do is encourage you that you are a bright star. You have a bright future. You have a destiny. And guess what? It doesn't matter if you're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. You're here 90, 95. You have a purpose and God has a plan for you. And it's a beautiful plan. And you are beautiful. Your light is beautiful. So that needs to always be at the forefront. No matter what we think about the things that were done to us, how it was wrong we got fired, how it was wrong we got put out by our ex, and just left us on the street with our kids that are still their kids. All of those things that we know are real life experiences that people have gone through. And then their friends said that they didn't want to be with them because their husband had dumped them. All these awful things, y'all. And there's people that are showing up and still being beautiful and still being kind. So I just want to encourage you that no matter what's going on, you're still beautiful. You're still a light. You still have purpose. And if that workplace doesn't want you, what do? Dust yourself off. Go to the future. Go to the next place. Because the next place is going to love you. And if they don't love you, you keep it moving and the next place is going to love you. The point is we just keep going and we don't let our light dim. We keep showing up big, beautiful, kind. And that's how we keep going in the pivot. We don't let the pivot drag us back to a dark place and take on what other people are saying about us. And let's say the pivot is that you got laid off. A lot of people just got laid off from the federal government, from the state. The state decided they're not going to hire some people. I'm in Maryland. And it's really sad, but it's also like that everything is for a reason, y'all. It might be a workplace where you got fired. Everything happens for a reason. It could be stuff going on that you don't know about, and God is protecting you from it. So we just need to be mindful that it's not about us. It's for a bigger plan, and it's going to be okay. In all things, we can prosper. In all things. So that means like, even if you're not working, You could be writing, you can be doing cooking, selling food, painting, selling your paintings, having sip-in paints. So we need to remember, like, even if we have to go and do TaskRabbit, there's so many little jobs that we can do to make it until we find the next thing. I just think, don't give up. You're a genius. It's going to be okay. So the timing, no matter what, we have to make sure that it could be long, it could be short, but that we're just living day by day, each day to the best of our ability, and not trying to hold on and not have to change, not have to, oh no, I don't want to have to change because the pivot's going to come. Lean into it. Let go. Live your life mindfully each moment, not thinking too much ahead and not thinking too much in the back. And when those thoughts of the future, oh, I'm not ready, we address it. It's going to be fine. I'm going to do my best now. I'm going to keep saving. I'm going to keep pressing. And in the back, if you caused yourself to get fired, which has been myself as well, it's fine. We're going to do okay. We're not going to make that same mistake again. Okay? So whatever that is, we need to make sure that we're just being kind to ourselves. We're going to do better the next time. So the key takeaway, the pivot is not the end. It's not the end of a dream. It's not the end of your life. It's a turn towards another chapter, another direction. And it's even a better direction than what you could have thought. Whew, that was a lot. That was a big one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. The pivot is not the end. I'm so glad that you have tuned in with me. I have 22 YouTube followers now. I'm so happy because I had none before. And you guys are actually giving me energy to keep going. Like DJ Khaled says, keep going. And I'm going to keep going because I know that we're learning more from each other. And I'm not going to give up. You don't give up. And remember, I'm on the road to 1,000 1K followers, YouTube subscribers. So I'd love your support. Please, if you like my channel, subscribe, like, share it with someone that you know needs to hear this today. There's nothing better than getting a sermon, a teaching, information from somebody, and they knew you were going through something, and they heard it and were like, you need to do this. You need to listen to this. You're going to get it. You're going to enjoy it. So yes, you can find Unfiltered by Roxy anywhere, the podcast, anywhere that you listen to your podcast, on YouTube, Unfiltered by Roxy. And until next time, keep growing and walking in love. And remember to look at yourself through eyes of compassion. Bye.